Welcome back to SPD911. Today, we have a show for you, but most importantly, we got our superstar back, SGG. Let's go. This show is all about tracking the toughest challenges in sterile processing. Is that we live in a world where shadowing is considered training.
SPD911, while we stand together.
You're not successful if you work in a 9 to 5. Like,
The tears, raw and real, we face the fight, supporting each other, night and daylight.
Listen. Today we have quite a show because we're talking about the difference in the quarrels that may happen with the SBD versus OR argument. You know, our goal at SIPS Healthcare is to build a strong bridge, a relationship from the OR to SBD, because our patients need us all to be on the same team. And no other person is more equipped to talk about this than the superstar of the show, SGG, who is our director of clinical compliance. She keeps not only us in check, but also supporting hospital systems all over the country. And I'm excited about it. SGG, I miss you.
How are you?
I miss you now. Y'all see, she got her headphones on today.
Listen, I said I found another set. This is another set.
Oh,
Apparently, at one time I was doing, but I do remember during COVID, I did a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, we're getting you together. See, I got to talk to your tech guy, your grandson, about hooking us some real mics and stuff up. But the thing is, you travel. So we need you, we need to pick on the mic and kind of. I don't travel as much as you travel,
Yeah.
but
Well,
these are,
I just have to. I have two sets. They're all travelable, so we just have to get it together.
That's right.
And then it's according to where I am, being able to actually lock in with technology, which you would think is easy, to be able to lock in from wherever I am. I would hope that I could possibly do an SPD 911 while I'm in Thailand next month.
Y'all see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? She leaves me hanging. She knows this is my favorite part of the week. SGG, first off, it sounds like your mic has a little whirl, like a whirling sound.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
like
that
your
better?
mic. Yes, that's better. With those mics,
Okay.
they're real sensitive, so you can't move as much
Okay.
with those. All righty. So today we're talking about something that's going to be great. But before we get into the show, you had a little trip. You went to California, did some assessments, and then went and visited your daughter. How was that?
Yes, I went and visited the engineer daughter. It was pretty good. She's fine. Listen,
She-
she's doing her thing. I'm not mad at her. She's vice president of the Society of Women Engineers, and she's just doing all kinds of stuff out there in San Diego. She won't leave. She's been there 16 years.
Well, it sounds like daughter, like mother, like daughter. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That tough love seems like it helped out.
Yes, because she's the quiet one. I never expected her to be speaking and doing all the things she's doing, but she has her own manner. She's cool about it. She represents. She's going to be in Massachusetts next week, representing her company at some big meeting. And so, I am proud of the girls that I raised. The other one just went back into teaching down in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a business teacher, and she's a free spirit. She was a doula. She was a banker. And now she's a teacher. She's one of those that when she wants to do something, she
gonna do it. Like, I'm just going to do it. I know that's right. Hey, at least you can say she lived.
Yes.
My way. Yeah.
Yes.
So
I'm excited.
So SGG, we're talking about a very serious topic. With you going all around the country, not only doing assessments, but truly supporting the hospitals that we support and seeing all the different dynamics. You've seen great relationships between OR and SPD. You've seen bad relationships between OR and SPD. You've seen, I don't know what this is, relationships between OR and SPD. And I think it's something, a strong topic that we truly can't get enough of talking about, because it's really the most important relationship to bridge when it comes to the support or supporting the patient during or before surgery. So can you talk about to us, before we get into some of these questions that our folks have sent in, or that our producer Ignacio has put in,
Mm-hmm.
um, can you kind of talk about some of the differences you see between a good relationship between OR and SPD, and a bad relationship between OR and the SPD, and then we'll kind of kick the conversation off from there.
Okay. So what I found over the years, from the beginning when I started to where I actually ended, is that the OR, let me just say this, surgical services encompasses several different departments, of
Mhm.
which the OR and the sterile processing really are tight knit. You have PACU, you have pre-admission testing. They're all part of surgical services, and they all play a great part. One is like a hand. You need all your fingers to really work. But what I found over the years is that no one really understood the importance of sterile processing to the whole picture. And so for years, sterile processing was just an end to a to a program. As long as some instruments showed up, nobody cared where they came from. They didn't know where they came from. They just knew they had a tray.
Mhm.
When we started actually doing data collection and audits, and realized that when there is a problem with a tray in surgery, that there's a group of people who are responsible, then people started focusing the light towards SPD. But I will
Mm.
say that for years we were never part of the team. Whenever they would say surgery, they only thought about PACU, OR, maybe pre-admission testing. They never thought about the part of the team that helped make it work. Um, and so we were outcasts. We were considered, and still are considered in many hospitals, as support staff. We are more than support staff. We are part of the team. And if you're going to say support, then everybody is support staff. PACU, who receives the patient after surgery, that's support staff. The nursing floor that receives the patient from PACU, that's support staff. But the label that was put on SPD was a label of not a good place to be. So here you had a group of people who were very, very important to the end means, that you treated like garbage on a garbage can, but you wanted them to support you. So we were never invited to be in the same area necessarily as surgery. Um, Dressing rooms, of course, we're in a different area, always in a different area. We're either in the basement or we're above the OR. Now in hospitals, they're putting us on the same floor, down the hall, around the corner, across the hall, because they realize the importance of the closeness of having this group to the actual operating room. So what they made was a group of people who were supposed to be a team. They made us be enemies. We came in every day. You got your gun, I got mine. And instead of working together, we had to come in every day deciding who's going to shoot John and when is John being shot. Instead of, we work together and we can put our guns and knives away. Put that away. We are a team. I always reference Grey's Anatomy a lot, because they have a lot of surgical procedures where on that TV show, you will see them go into the OR. You see the table is set up with all the instruments. You hear them say, pass the scalpel, pass the clamp. That is the part of the team that we support. They have no clamp, no scalpel, no instruments without SPD. So why would you treat me as the enemy when, as I've told doctors face to face, you're just a man or woman with gloves on until the instruments show up? As good as a physician as you are, you're the best heart surgeon in the world, but with no instruments, you can do nothing. So there's somebody that supports that part of the operation that you should be concerned about and concerned that they know what they're doing. So we made a monster, Dr. Jake. We made a monster in hospitals where we are continuously fighting. The OR doesn't like the SPD. The SPD doesn't like the OR. The OR talks down to the SPD. The SPD can hardly talk at all. They don't want to hear from us. And that is where we were for years. And in some hospitals yet today, that's where they are. Things have changed, and it changes with people, with processes, and as you teach, with leadership. If the leader is not leading the whole team, he loses some of his cattle. All the cows didn't come home. If you didn't look at the ones, the man on the horse over to the left, you were only focused on the horses to the horse runners on the right, you lost a whole set of cattle. And so leadership is important. The C-suite is important. The C-suite has to understand that they are the C-suite for the whole hospital, and they are the C-suite for surgical services, which includes the OR and the SPD. And those two can make or break your bottom line. And so, as you ask, we started our wars. It never was a rumor. It was always a war. We always didn't like each other. But in these last years, things have begun to turn around, where we realize with a director who has wisdom and a vision, an understanding of leadership, is able to say, you are all on my team. I need everybody to do what they need to do. And SPD, my director would say, the SPD manager and the OR manager answer to me. The SPD manager doesn't answer to the OR manager. She answers to the director, because each of you are taking care of a different part of this team, and I need for you to be able to answer to what the issues are. And then we started learning each other's names, and I'm going to kind of stop there. We started learning team members, and we became team members. They started making us have meetings together where we come together as one, and we get to talk about what you think is a problem, what you think isn't a problem. And they would ensure that we understood we are one team. One can't work without the other. And so things have begun to turn around, but it is always, as we're going to talk about today, a certain amount of tension between the two. And this is a monster that was man-made.
And with that, and this is the importance of our Sterile by Design system, because one, we have the system with the methodologies, the frameworks, the support to be able to level up our folks that are in SPD, but it also gives hospitals that opportunity for them to have a development program, essentially, to be able to raise up leaders through SPD. I always think that it is any organization's role or responsibility to also impart on the development of the people that will be in your organization. And I think also too that is the thing, right? Because when you have OR or these other positions that have these degrees, well, we all know that just because you have a degree doesn't necessarily mean you know what you're doing, or it doesn't mean that you're best fit for the job. The degree was supposed to be a filtering process, where at least for you to know, if I got a bachelor's, that means they know how to learn. If they got a master's, that means they have learned a specialty, but it doesn't always translate to them doing the job well. It just gave them a filtering process to be able to filter people out that will be applying for jobs that couldn't fit at all. So I think the degree thing became a huge stigma, and a lot of folks in SPD, you kind of cut your teeth by getting in, and you get in and you develop and you grow. And I always say this, SGG, I say you pay your team for the job they do today, but you invest in their development for the job they'll have tomorrow. And many organizations struggle with that. Yep, they struggle with that.
You're absolutely right. That's why I always felt it was important in sterile processing, because that's where I was, to motivate, stimulate, and educate my team members to learn, to be constantly learning, to constantly go for upper education, go for another certification.
That's right.
I would get pushback because, as you said, sterile processing is not the department that they said we need a degree for. They
Mhm.
only wanted a degree for the person running the show. They didn't care about the rest of the team. But when you have a team that is learned,
That's right.
because knowledge is power,
That's
you
right.
and they understand you're better able to manage your resources and your processes.
That's right.
And so education is important. And I would tell them, listen, let's study. Let's get this certification, because this is what I know. The day that it is required, when you already have it, you're not stressed. They say we now need for you to have your CIS. You say, oh, I have it. Rather than when they come in, as we're having to do as we try to get required and mandatory certification in the United States, when they come in and say the law has changed and you got 18 months to get your certification. If you're not a good studier, a good adult learner, a good test taker, you are stressed and you don't pass the test.
That's right.
And now your job is on the line.
That's right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you're doing. Some people just aren't able to take tests. They know that you're supposed to shut the door. They shut the door, they lock the door. But when it's on paper and the story is written, they just aren't able to comprehend and put it together.
Yep. Yep. And I'll give anyone that's listening to this, and if you go back and you clip this up, one of the biggest things when it comes to learning, here's a small trick they taught us as educators in school, which is teaching people how to learn. And the best way to learn is to not assume that you know what words mean, even though you've known those words all your life. Because when you're taking a test, now you're having to take a test based on terminology, and you have to understand the etymology of the word, which means the real meaning of the said word, so that if you get a
Right.
question, if you can break down the word, you understand exactly how to answer it. So I've always passed every single test. It's not because I'm smart. It's only because I was taught how to learn. So here's a tip for everyone before we get into it, because we do believe development is key. And some of you do not have the leadership roles that you need or you deserve, just because of this thing that you're scared to do, which is take a test to be able to improve your knowledge. So anytime that you're reading, right? Anytime that you're reading, for an example, our newest book, Operational Blindness. Anytime that you're reading, right? So I'll give you an example. Just go to a random page. And let's say this topic is healthcare parallel. It says, I've spent over 20 years in healthcare. I've read all these things, right? And it says hospital executive. If you don't know what a hospital executive is, don't assume that you do. Go and research what a hospital executive is. Now that you have understanding, it grounds you on the conversation. So when I'm studying, honestly, this one page, if I'm truly studying, should take me about 2 hours. If I'm really breaking down every word to ensure that I know it enough to learn it. And for those of you, you just got to slow down just a little bit. Slow down and make sure that when you look at that page, you know every term on that page, the meaning of the word on that page, and how it's placed. And it will take you a little bit longer, but I promise you, you'll get faster, you'll get better, it'll get easier. But these are terminologies that you'll never forget, because you broke down every single word, you broke down the concepts that you do not know. And even for terms that you have been using for a elongated or a long period of time, a lot of times we misuse terms and we misuse words and we misuse concepts. In theory, we think that we know. But when you actually go into action or you're trying to explain it, it doesn't sound right. And a lot of the issues that many of you are dealing with is just communication between OR and SPD, learning to communicate and using the right terminology or the right words. Because if someone is looking to try to discredit you, they're looking for any of those small remarks that you make. So that's just a quick tip for those that are listening on how to learn.
And that's important, because we teach terminology, which people don't pay attention too much. It's important in our field, Dr. Jake, because if we're picking a case, you need to know the difference between a hysterectomy, which ectomy means the removal of, and a hysteroscope, which so one means we're looking, one means we're removing something. So that if when you know the etymology of the word, you're able to say, I don't need to put a hysterectomy set on this case because they're doing a scope.
Yes,
The fact that you put a scope on a hysterectomy tray on the scope is because you don't know what the words mean.
that's right. And it just say
And so,
hister. So you just going on.
yeah, you know it's GYN. They doing something. So it is important. And when we talk about tenseness in the OR, nothing irritates somebody than to get a case card with the wrong instruments on it when it clearly said this was a hysterectomy and you put a hysteroscope and
Yeah.
checked it off and was happy
Yep.
with your case card. You signed your name, you signed your initials on it. And so, and that irritates them because instead of being able to actually open the case, now they have to call down to the SPD or find the OR liaison and say, I have a scope tray, I was supposed to have a hysterectomy tray, and I don't understand why, and this is how they say it, I don't understand why y'all can't get it right. Y'all, instead of number one, drilling down to it's not y'all, it's Sharon, and let's get Sharon fixed. But it's why y'all in SPD, those people downstairs, those people down there, they just don't know what they're doing. And so what is happening, Dr. Jake, is that in America, with the technology, with the way the world is going, it's going to be an accepted practice within, and this is what I believe, within the next 20 years that SPD technicians have degrees.
You've been saying that since I met you.
That's where we're going, because for years it was just, this was an on-the-job training thing. That part is true, but without comprehension and understanding, you don't understand what I trained you on the job. And so what we have found is that I need for you to understand what I am training you to comprehend the process. I said, wash the instruments underwater, brush underwater. Now, comprehension, you got to have some water. You need to be under the water with a brush, cleaning underwater. So when you have the instrument up here and the brush up here, that means there was a disconnect in your understanding to the process. And so in America, we have decided that education, which is important, education helps you to comprehend the process that I told you. Brush underwater. I should never have to say it after you've been taught and you've been deemed competent. I shouldn't have to come and stand behind you, Dr. Jake, and say, why are you cleaning that instrument in the air? And for you to turn around and say, aerolization. Okay, what's that mean? That means that the biofilm, the byproducts of what I'm brushing off of this instrument is now in the air, flying around. This is negative pressure. It lands on your face shield. If you don't have the face shield, it may land on your face, all because you didn't comprehend. So the education level is going, where we were at an 8th grade level, is going to have to come up because we're making mistakes that are no longer acceptable.
I'm glad that you brought that up because some people may get nervous when they hear that. But as you say, once you start to hear an industry is changing, go ahead and make the changes now. So when it happens, you're already ready. And anytime an industry begins, or a department or a service industry, whatever portion, the subsector of an industry, anytime they begin to start requiring degrees, that's actually usually a good thing. That means that the hospital will have to pay more. That means that the industry, the subsector in the industry is starting to connect the dots for everyone else that this is a high skilled position. And so these are all great indications. So what SGG is saying, the complexity of doing SPD is no longer as simple as it used to be. Therefore, ensuring that we have people who have higher level of comprehension skills, reading skills, and application skills will be required. And usually you learn the basics of those coming from college. Now, I know some of you are listening and saying, hey, but I don't have to have that in order for me to be great. Well, what we have to understand is that we talk about higher learning education in any capacity. For one, all of you that are out there that are listening, please hear me out. Do not just get a certification and a degree just for the sake of getting one, because you're going to miss the learning that you could actually win or earn while you're getting the degree or certification. But many people just get a degree and certification to check off a box, but you didn't master the certification or the degree. And so these are things to kind of just take into notice. But when the subsector is growing, now you know, hey, now we're saying, yes, we agree that this is a high complex sub industry inside of healthcare, that we should make sure that we're paying a lot more attention to the quality of people that's coming out. Not saying people are not quality now. She's just saying it's getting more and more complex the more and more technology and advancement in surgeries we're having, which means that we have to just get better. Is that what you're saying?
And we have to do that, because you'd be amazed now. And we're getting ready for HSPA the end of April, the 24th of April through the 28th of April in Baltimore, Maryland. We have the most doctors of healthcare that I never would have known working in SPD. We have so many managers in SPD who now have their masters in healthcare, which for years we didn't even have our bachelors. We were just there. Or if someone was over SPD with a degree, it was usually an RN. It was a nurse. They felt they needed to bring an RN down to be over the SPD. They have realized to a point that that's not the true answer, because RNs are not taught SPD. I went to nursing school. There wasn't a course called sterile processing in nursing school. So that does not qualify you to be able to take care of a sterile processing. But and I'm not saying that people cannot just come in and work, because you can. I started from the bottom up. But Dr. Jake, it has a lot to do with what your motivation is in your field of work.
Yeah.
How much are you motivated to do it right? And it just so happens that the field we are in has the ability to make mistakes. You have the ability to make mistakes and harm a patient. We're not just out here making mud bowls. You know, you make a mud bowl, one end right, you just crack it and make some new mud, start over. We can't do that. When we send a tray to a surgery for patient use, that tray should be 100% ready for patient use. It should meet all the boxes that need to be checked off, meaning that it's workable, the instruments are workable, the instruments out of everything are clean. They're clean, 100% clean. They're working. You put the right instruments in the right tray. You processed it according to the right instructions for use. And this is why education is so important, Dr. Jacobs, because now we actually read instructions for use. My first 10 years, we didn't even know where they were. They was in the trash can. We thought you washed everything the same way. We didn't know you were supposed to soak instruments for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We just knew somebody taught me, brush this off and send it through. So times have changed as they have been able to track with data and real audits that we are part of the problem when contaminated instruments get on a surgical field, because we sent the tray up contaminated. Now, the fact that the instrument actually got to the field means our teammates, the OR, didn't check instruments before they started passing them. But SPD, we're the ultimate watchdog of any instruments put in any tray. And we have to be willing, with integrity, understanding, and education, to know what is clean and what isn't. And so now you have to have people, not only that you've shown something, that's on the job training, but who are able to intelligently use critical thinking in putting trays together. And so in America, I'm just saying in America, we've decided a little bit that things are changing. I've been to other countries, Dr. Jake, where they require them to get their degrees. Or when I was in China 5 years, in China, when they come along and say, The tray will be processed for 4 minutes. It will be clean before you put it in. They follow instructions because they don't have so much choice. That's a country that says, do what we say do, period. We didn't ask for your opinion. We didn't ask you to have a thought. The tray instruments better be clean before you pack them and process. Well, in America, people have choice and they have freedom of thinking. And so sometimes they're not paying attention anymore. That's just the reality, you all. I'm just telling you in general. We got our cell phones in our pocket. You trying to watch a movie, you're listening to a song, you're trying to hoping somebody calling you with an answer, and you're not paying attention. But before we had all of those things, we could pay attention because if someone wanted to talk to you, they had to call on the house phone. And we went home and we told our family members, don't call me on my job unless it's an emergency. Don't call me about no mess. My boss should not know that you calling. You know, so things have changed. And with change, there's pushback. And of course, in sterile processing, we are pushing back. But AI, the programs we have, sterile by design, these programs that are stepping up, that are going to put us where we have to do something correctly and check the box, is what we have to have in sterile processing to keep our team members from having free thought. Because we've had free thought for years, and when people do free thinking, they don't always think correctly. And so now we have found that we need the technology. We need the systems that are able to do the wonderful things that Sterile by Design can do by making sure that if a tray gets up without an indicator in it, I purposely did that because there were stop gaps along the way that I had to fill out to say I had done something that I didn't do. So now you can hold me 100% accountable for not putting an indicator in the tray.
That's right.
And we no longer have to keep talking in circles about, I've told you, Sharon, I've told you. Now you can come and say, Sharon, here's your competency. You were signed off. Here's the actual tray you were putting together. You actually went in and put the lot number. Why didn't you put the indicator in the tray? So, you know, and that takes education. I'm just sorry. We can no longer just let John off the street who was digging ditches roll into SPD and say, come on in, wrap a bowl. That's no longer acceptable.
That's right. And we have a scenario. I was kind of looking through the scenarios because this conversation is I think really strong because you have a unique way of holding both sides accountable without especially being a matriarch in SPD of somebody who believes in doing things the right way. You have an ability of showing the stop gaps on both sides, the fill gaps on both sides. And speaking of that, here's a scenario. I believe it's scenario number 2. Ignox is going to get it up. In a scenario, you know, it is OR wants trays faster. SPD wants things done right. The tension builds. And that question was, you know, why don't SPD and OR always seem to be on the same page? And it's a question that I wanted to pose to you because it's almost like both sides. You know, I've been to a lot of hospitals, and it's almost like both. So you have an SPD that say we want to do things right, but when you go into the SPD, they're not doing anything right. They just want you to stop asking for them to do more. You know, it's kind of like that thing.
Right.
So can you talk like what is that? Iggy, can you put the question back up?
So why doesn't SPD and OR? Okay, so underline that in reality, we're on the same page. The trip of 1,000 miles takes, you have to go one step at a time. So we're on the same page. We have a surgery. It's all about preparation, communication, and follow through. Number one, if we are prepared, which we should be, because we knew that Mr. Jones was coming for a total knee for 9 o'clock today. We knew that weeks ago. So we should have done the preparation to be sure those trays were in-house and processed and ready. That's preparation. Communication, we should have talked to each other before 9 o'clock today to say, Mr. Jones, we have a total knee at 9 o'clock. The striker trays are supposed to be here. Are they here? Are they ready? That's not the question you ask at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
That's the question we asked during a meeting we had. We used to do pre-meetings 2 weeks out. We knew 2 weeks out what trays we needed. And then we knew the day before we had meetings. Are the trays here? Is there going to be any problem? Communicating SPD to OR, right? We cannot process anything fast. Getting our OR team members to understand that back in 1955, when I was born, they was flashing and doing all kinds of stuff they're not supposed to do. We can't do that anymore. That's not allowable. That's not within the standards, and we can no longer say we're doing it fast. So we have to go back to that word preparation. You have to allow me to prepare and have it. Yeah. We don't get along because we are not basically making sure that that thread of communication is closed. That we knew when we met we have our meeting we used to meet at 6:55 in the morning in the OR. They'd say, this is our schedule for today. Are we ready for the 7:30 cases? And SPD would be standing there at the last hospital I worked at. We're standing there to say with our paper, all the trays are ready for 7:30. They're upstairs. They're in the room. We brought all the carts up. We can also let you know that the 8:30 trays are ready. The 9:30 trays are ready. We are having a problem with the 3 o'clock. Because we're going to have to turn over the 7:30 trays for the 3 o'clock case. So OR, as soon as that case is finished, we need for you to get those instruments to decon so that we can start the cleaning process and have those instruments in the sterilizer so that you'll have them for 3 o'clock. That is all about communicating. That's not about assumption. Yeah. So for years we worked on assumption. OR assumed that SPD knew. And SPD assumed that OR knew, but no one ever talked about anything. And so when you got to your case, Dr. Jake, and you didn't have the instruments, now you've got to explain what, as we used to say, had happened. Well, you're not going to stand up and say, well, I was drinking coffee when I should have been in the room seeing if the instruments were there. That's not your right answer. So you've got to say, well, I don't know. SPD didn't send the instruments up. Now, you really don't know if that's a true statement or not. But at the moment in front of the physician, that sounds good. SPD. Now, SPD, maybe we didn't send the instruments up because we assumed that these instruments were for 2 o'clock. That's what my paper says. So it's all about talking. And so until you're in an SPD OR situation where those groups not only communicate once a day, Dr. Jake, but continuously as things change. We have to, the manager, whoever's running that OR desk, not only has to be sure she has people for the rooms, she needs to be sure that instruments are ready. So, you know, we have the program, Sterile by Design, that's going to allow them to click in and say the instruments for 2:30 are here. That's right. They are sterile. They're in the OR. They're outside the room too.
That's right.
You're no longer thinking or assuming. You're now speaking with facts. And so that's going to take away that bit of stress. But the stress has always been, I have always felt, because we didn't talk to each other. For years, SPD never went to the OR. They didn't see us unless it was a big problem and you had to send for me. And then I would come. Well, things have changed. You don't have to send for me because at 6:50 when I was managing, I'm in the OR.
That's right.
And at 7:15, I'm making rounds. And every 7:30 case that's going on, I have hit those rooms and said, do you have what you need? My team leader's on one side of the hall. I'm on one side of the hall. We're coming in and saying, good morning, how y'all doing? Do you have what you need? Well, I think I'm missing something. Let me go get that for you. Don't you go. I'm gonna go. It's about being a team. And so when you become a team, things mellow out. When I know Dr. Jake is doing that total knee in room 7 and Dr. Jake knows Sharon is working it out for me, our day goes a whole lot smoother because
Yeah.
Dr. Jake knows. I'm just going to call Sharon and tell her to come here, please. We seem to be missing something. It's about working together, which is something that these two teams who need each other have spent so much time working apart and so much energy working apart. When if we just work together, it is so much easier. It is so much easier when I come past the room at 7:15 and say, what you need, what you need, and then the RN is feeling good. The nurse is feeling good because she doesn't have to run out the room and go get it. I'm telling her, I got you. Now we have OR liaisons. I can come out the room and say to the OR liaison, get an all for room 6. They need the number 6 all. They're missing it out of their tray. And we can get it in the room and have it there before the physician comes, and the physician is no longer antagonized. If we work together, he or she isn't antagonized. Therefore, the room is smooth. Dr. Jake, they play music in rooms to help calm them down. It's kind of like, King Saul, the harp
Yeah.
calmed him down.
Yeah.
They play music to calm them down. That kind of helps their mind be focused on what they're supposed to do. And they don't want to hear what we don't have.
That's
They
right.
don't want to hear what SPD didn't bring. That's not what they want to hear. And that's not what we want to give from SPD. From SPD, we really want to be on top of our part of the deal. I want the instruments there. I want the instruments clean. I want the parameters of sterilization to have been met for those instruments, and I want you to be able to use them. On the other hand, when you finish, my OR team members, I want you to do point of care. I want you to put all the instruments back in the tray. Don't throw none away. Put them in the cart, spray them down, and send them to me so that I can start the cycle over again. It's all about the communication and the teamwork. And the hospitals that have said, you will be a team, you will communicate, have gotten away from assumptions of not having these issues of pushing back and being mad all day because SPD didn't do their part and we mad downstairs because OR didn't tell us and we know. You no longer have that excuse. You take away that part of the conversation because I want to know.
And I think that that's what makes our technology Sterile by Design so great. And John, we see your comment, brother. Thank you for commenting. It looks like ChatGPT got you boogered up over there, though. Got to make sure you take out the ChatGPT points right there. But those are definitely solid points that you have, John. I just wanted to recognize you. So here's the deal. This is why I love our tech, SGG, because our technology is so sensational because a lot of the communication things, people are human, right? And we want to be as professional as possible, but sometimes there are people you do not like and you do not want to communicate with. So you find these workarounds to not talk to the person. Then it becomes this little punitive game that you're playing of cat and mouse, which we also have to assume because it is a human factor of being a human. And so I think I love about our technology because you mentioned bringing everything up, and communicating ahead of time and talking. But the thing I love about our tech is that many legacy tracking softwares only track the outcomes of things that had happened. You're tracking instruments. And we believe with our company, the people are the most important portion of supporting SPD, not just the instrumentation. And in order to be able to support that, you need a technology that helps navigate and pushes those people in the right direction. It's kind of like, you kind of just, you brought up cattle, like you getting everybody, in the right track. You're kind of guiding everybody, and everybody, including myself. Sometimes you need those little reminders of bing, do this, bing, do that, because there are so many different moving parts. And I love
Yeah.
this part about our technology. And I said that we're going to start showing a little bit more of our tech now, so that the world can see it, SGG. So I'm gonna bring it up really quick. So the thing I love about our technology here, like in our notification section, the moment that anyone were to log into our technology, we know exactly what tests were not performed. We know, can you see this, SGG?
Yes.
We know the endoscopes, which ones are out, have expired. But here's the portion I love most, because every surgeon, I'm going to get closer. Every surgeon has their surgery preferences or the surgeries they do the most. These are the surgeries that, you know, like we need to always make sure that we have them. Here's a couple of things. Like for an example here, we know the performance of everyone inside our organization. We know our instrument utilization chart, like what is no longer being used. This is very important. Our technology will even let you know what to take out of service and what to add into it. But I'm trying to find a notification with a surgeon. Just give me a second, SGG. Here, like for Dr. Do-Right. It says the analysis indicates that the following sets are not readily available for Dr. Do-Right, which is this set right here. And then it says it again, so you can see it on different days, right? So this is an example of, in our technology, we actually can build for the surgeon what their preferences are, what they actually want. What sets do they have to make sure that we have available all the time? So we are proactive in the approach to making sure that those sets get done, because we know that Dr. Do-Right or Dr. Booty Boo, those are the ones that need these. They do these sets more regularly than other sets. This allows for everyone to be on the same page with every day. Let's see where these sets are. Let's search for them and let's get them done. That's a very valuable thing in the tech, especially with those that are looking. Another portion of the tech that I love is that when we get to, and I'll show on the next week on the show, I always want to show a little small peek of the technology from now on. But there's a portion of the tech, SGG, where the surgeon, the doctor, the charge nurse, the scheduler, the whomever can all go to our operations hub and see where everything is. So it shouldn't be a thing. And then if a surgery is changed or something's added, our technology will ping it to the people that need to know that a change has happened. And then the leaders automatically know that there has been either a request for a requisition inside of the inside the OR, and that can just be pinged through the technology. So what our technology does, it makes communicating with everyone better, because it does the communicating on the behalf of people in the right manner. So it allows for people to run their departments, and everyone can peek in to see where things are, so that we can get rid of this. Where is this? Where is that? It's already processing the technology, that we have there. That's what I love most about the tech, is because the communication thing, you have to teach people how to communicate. And sometimes that takes time. But when you have a technology that communicates and liaisons and coordinates for you, it's talking to the OR, it's talking to SPD, it's talking to leadership, and anyone can come in and see where things are, not just necessarily where the instruments are. If I'm only paying attention to the instruments, not spending all this money on the instruments, I am unknowingly telling my staff that instruments are more important than managing and monitoring or developing the people who handle the instruments.
Right. And it helps us with our communication, because as you said earlier, there is that human factor, whereas you made the statement where I don't like Dr. J. Well, I learned a long time ago when I went to a few little classes, that you have to be able to distance yourself from the job did not hire you to like Dr. J.
That's right.
They hired you to work with Dr. J.
That's right.
And so, it's not about y'all eating dinner, going to parties. It's about you all getting in here and performing a function and getting the job done. So how well I'm liked is irrelevant. How well I like people is irrelevant. I need to do the job. And as you say, now we have found that we need processes and programs to help us to do the job, because the human factor will percolate.
That's right.
On one thing. I think she rolled her eyes at me, and that had nothing to do with getting them trays together.
Yep.
Where my eyes were.
Yep.
It's about getting the tray together. So anything that can help us to function better. In the end, we win because the patient is our primary concern.
That's right.
There's nothing worse, Dr. Jake, than having a patient, and this is true story. A friend of mine called me. She went to have back surgery. She was scheduled more than once, cancel, schedule, cancel. Finally, she's on the schedule. She gets to the hospital at 5:30 in the morning. She gets the IV put in. She's ready. This particular case required an antibiotic be given before surgery. Her antibiotic is in. She's rolled to the operating room. She is given her Versed. She's rolled over onto the operating room table. She's put to sleep. And the next thing she knows, she's awakened and told she needs to go home and reschedule the surgery because they found out they didn't have the implants.
She was put to sleep.
She was put to sleep.
Yeah.
And then they
Wow.
found out they didn't have the implants for her surgery. Now, you know that is totally unacceptable. That's totally ridiculous. And it's not fair to her. And if she hadn't been in so much pain and so and unable to walk, she would have not ever gone back for the surgery whatsoever. But at this point in her life, she was in a position where she had no choice. So she had to reschedule. And this is where that doctor works. So she had to go back to that hospital. Now, of course, the next time they were ready. But see, along the way, there's some communication was missed. There's no reason why the vendor was not there with his implants for a back surgery. Majority of back surgeries require some hardware and some trays. So how do we get a patient all the way in the room, all the way asleep, when we say, oh, we don't have no implants? That is totally ridiculous. And that is on both teams' hand. Because with the program we have, we know when the instruments and the implants arrive. They should
That's
be
right.
coming in together.
That's right.
And so that is important. And you get to see it. As you say, it is dinged. We get the little bell. We know we have it. We get, if we have to, we get to talk about it face to face. I saw on the report that these instruments were here. Yes, they are. And you can go with confidence and say, let's do this surgery. It is not fair to patients who have to mentally, and I'm saying this in general to the SPD world, your patients mentally get there ready for surgery that they scheduled. You knew they were coming. They're on the schedule. There's no reason why we aren't ready for our guests. There's no reason why the instruments aren't ready. There's no reason why you didn't do your job. This is your job, your profession. This is what you do. And so if you are in this field of practice and you feel like it's too much to have to clean something, make sure it's clean, then make sure it works, then make sure it's in the tray correctly, then make sure you processed it on the right temperature for the right amount of time, then you need to look for a job somewhere else. Because in this field, it's not just giving people a French fry that isn't crispy. They're not going to die from that. You can actually impact, and you will hear me say it forever, a patient's life where they sometimes never recover, never get back to wholeness, thanks to something that you did or didn't do. So, you know, I tell people, I worked at the Burger King for years as a part-time job. If you really don't want to, and then nowadays they need some more responsibility in the Burger King because I'm tired of getting my French fries limp. So I have to go into the Burger King now, the McDonald's, and stand at the counter and help them fry the fries as the customer.
Yep.
You know, I've told you I order my fries with no salt for a reason. I want them to drop the fries fresh. I want to stand at the counter and watch them. And sometimes they, after it's, you know, it's fried for a few minutes, Dr. Jake, they go and shake the pan and they ready to, I say, no, wait, hold up. The bell didn't ring. The bell that said the fries was ready didn't ring. Leave them fries in there. And they look at me like, who is she? I'm the customer that's now running my fries. I'm not worried about nobody else's, just mine, because you all don't do what you're supposed to do. Well, in SPD, we need the programs we have like Sterile by Design to help us to not move those instruments until the bell rings, to not go to the next step until we've clicked and it says you can move to the next step. We need the stop gaps to help us. My word for this year is hold the line.
Oh, Sterile by Design helps you hold the line.
Hold the line.
and that's what I love about Sterile by Design is it's the very first operating system for SPD. It doesn't just do instrument tracking. It doesn't just connect you to one source for IFUs. You build all of it inside the technology, and the technology becomes your coordinator, your liaison on behalf of a person. And it's a very great thing. So if you are interested in looking or getting a demo or seeing at Sterile by Design for yourself, go to stipshealthcare.com/SBD. You can go to stipshealthcare.com/SBD, and that will definitely allow for you to set up some time to get the demo. What I will tell you is this, is that when hospitals see our technology and they see our operating system and our framework that comes with it, and they find out that we don't charge implementation fees, and they find out that our cost for most hospital systems costs less, our tech costs less than getting an assessment from a consulting firm, it's been a no-brainer for hospitals to actually leave a lot of the legacy technologies that are out there when they see our technology, because it's not just about tracking instruments. It's about making the job of the leaders easier and allowing for the technology to communicate to all parties, so it's full transparency on that front. So we're going to be ending the show, of course, but we're going to end it with SGG giving us an out. But before we do that, today's show has been sponsored by Wealthy Label. Today's show is sponsored by Wealthy Label because most people think energy comes from caffeine, but that's not energy. That's borrowing from tomorrow. At Wealthy Label, we believe stewards don't chase energy, they govern it. This isn't another supplement brand. This is fuel for people responsible for things that matter. Your mind, your body, your discipline. Coffee that works with your brain. Capsules that support real performance. Products designed for people who lead, build, and carry weight. If you're serious about how you show up every day, go to wealthylabel.com. This is a brand that focuses on your mind. And by supporting your mind, you will be right in line. Hold the line. SGG, can you please
listen?
I want you to target what?
Listen. That's it for today. We done. Okay. Hold the line, team. Hold the line. And look, let's get some of that stuff so we can.
This show is all about tracking the toughest challenges in sterile processing. Is that we live in a world where shadowing is considered training.
SPD911, we stand together.
You're not successful if you work in a 9 to 5. Like.